Let me introduce the first session of the day. We will now take a look at the cool down in venture funding because it's a real challenge for startups. Of course, we need the funds. And according to KPMG, in Q1 2025, the deal volume declined for the fourth consecutive quarter, even though the total investment value rose. But this signals, of course, to investors that, well, they're becoming more selective. They're looking more clearly at where they put their money in. They're being cautious. While some investors are pausing, corporate venture capitalists, they're recalibrating. And that's exactly what we're going to dive in. We're going to take a look and understand how they think, how they're reshaping deal structures, how they're exploring ways to demonstrate how they can deliver ROI. And that's what we're going to find out. And we've got a fantastic panel for that. It's moderated by no one else than Mike Butcher, the founder and editor of Path Founders, the former founding editor of At Large at TechCrunch. He's a columnist, a speaker, a moderator, a broadcaster, and also the founder of the Europes and TechFugees. And he's joined for this conversation by Rocky Yu, founder of AGI House Ventures USA, and Hanneke Krekels, the corporate vice president, global AI markets, AMD from the USA. Please give them all a warm welcome. Great to have you.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on day two. It's an exciting time here at Expand All Start because, as you know, this is very much about startups and venture capital, and I'm very happy to be joined by Hanneke Krekels, who's Corporate Vice President Global AI Markets for AMD. And you may have, if you were here yesterday, you may have seen Rocky Yu, who's founder of AGI House Ventures, which I have visited, which is a fantastic place in the Bay Area. Today's discussion, we'll start off with a little bit of a chat about venture from both sides of the table, both from the corporate venture side and from the sort of normal VC side. But Hanneke, perhaps if I could turn to you first. I mean, AMD obviously is, been in the news a lot lately for various reasons. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But when you're looking at a sort of strategic return on investment for AMD, what kinds of things are you looking for, especially on the corporate venture side? But obviously, I know that you're very much global AI, strategic on global AI right now. So how is that changing your strategy?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to the panel. For us, what is very important, and it's probably different than VC money, corporate investing for us is very important for us is strategic alignment. So most of the time we invest in three groups, three categories. One is commercial. We work with startups to help them raise funds, and we give them funds, of course, for them to become our customer in the end. And then the second one is really to build joint solutions. We are committed to open source, open ecosystem, open architecture. So we work with a lot of companies to build solutions. Think about humanoid robotics. We can't do that by ourselves. We work with companies and we invest in them. And then the third group is technology collaboration. So, for instance, customers that do cooling or advanced packaging. So, our ROI is not calculated on, capital and the return on capital, but really the strategic alignment and working together. We really want to build a 360 kind of alignment with
But you're not looking for the same kind of venture exits as normal VCs, is that right? Or are you looking for those exits?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, we do very few acquisition or, try before you buy investments, because we really want companies to become standalone companies and work with us, either become a customer or build solutions with us. So yes, It's different than venture capitalists.
And Rocky, you're obviously very much involved in a kind of cutting edge coalface of, shall we say, of AI with the AGI house. And you're obviously investing in some of these tiny startups. So we're really looking at sort of a giant like AMD sitting next to a very early stage investor who's literally running a hacker house to some extent. I mean, what are you looking to end up having the kinds of relationships with these giants in order to exit to the likes of AMD, or are you more about that early stage and then the companies maybe get follow-on rounds from larger VCs?
Yes, actually it's a equation of both. So at AGI House, we believe in foundation models like it's the fundamental building blocks of all the future digital infrastructure. That's when it started. That's a bit right around time 2022. So now I think the whole world is moving towards that direction as we see. So we kind of trying to, like Mike just mentioned, Hacker House, we do have that kind of operation to actually incubating, accelerating companies for that CVCs. The building that different parts of ways how to use the foundation model. We do actually work with a lot of corporates, giants. AMD, we actually work very closely with Google, the venture side, both of the Gemini, the whole foundation model people, OpenAI, Anthropic, and also MongoDB, the whole tech stack. So we have a very close relationship. We actually see the how they act, the corporate venture side, how they support the ecosystem. Very, very lucky to be at that core center and being supported by the giants. I think that's where we see there's a future giants coming out of this whole operations. Yeah.
Right, I see. But you're looking for very fundamental technologies, I suppose, a lot of the time. You're not looking for sort of application layer. You're looking for chip design and maybe improvements in compute and things like that. Isn't that right?
No, for us, even though we are originally a semiconductor company, you're really not a semiconductor anymore.
Right.
You're a solutions company because you started from hardware 55 years ago. Then you become a hardware software company, and now you really have to do the whole stack. So we do work with a lot of companies to fill out that stack. Not as much on the actual hardware. Right. We got that under control, but we have to build out a stack. And often we need to build another stack, whether it's for robotics or life sciences or something else. So we do invest in smaller companies a lot.
But how are current developments in AI informing your strategy? You've got playing out. You've got the sort of OpenAI. You've got Anthropic, etc. What changes are you looking for? And also, Samsung just came out and said that they produced a much lower cost model just the other day. Do you see the price of compute coming down, and how is that going to affect your strategy going forward?
Yeah, I mean, now you see that, so we are an AI infrastructure, so let's say the plumbing behind all of the good AI work, but you will see that becoming more in balance because we need more competition. Right now there's only a few companies and we need a much better balance in that. And it will be companies like us and NVIDIA, but also companies like startups and niche players. And all of that, there will be more competition. The market will be huge, is huge. There is room for more competition, and that will even out the price.
And are you looking for Europe and the Middle East to step up in that space?
For us, this area, there is a lot of activity. We had a big deal with UMain in Saudi Arabia a few months ago that we announced for 10 billion. So this area is very important. Europe as well now, because they're kicking off their whole AI Gigafactory initiative. And there's a lot of coalitions that are vying for that money. And if they don't get the money from the European Union, they still will go ahead with a lot of VC money that they have gathered. So Europe is important.
You're Rocky, you're in San Francisco in the Bay Area. You probably think that Europe and the rest of the world just can't catch up at this point, right?
They are catching up, but we do see there's still a gap because we actually have worked with the companies from Europe. As we speak, last Saturday, like 2 days ago, we have a company called Magnex. It's like a life science, AI for life science company. They're sponsoring a hackathon at AGI House. They brought the whole team to San Francisco for Tech Week. So we see more and more of those. At AGI House, we see people flying from Norway, South Korea to come to join our events. They fly all over from around the world. Yeah, we'd love to see more people from this area as well. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it's about talent, though, isn't it? A lot of these discussions are about talent, and we just saw, I think it was breaking news yesterday that somebody has just been scooped up by Meta from one of the AI startups, reputedly for billions of dollars. How are large companies like AMD competing for talent in that space? How do you attract talent in this huge talent war that's going on right now?
So let me first put it in a larger perspective. I work on sovereign AI, and every deal in sovereign AI is different between every country. But there is similarities, and the similarity is always education. How can I make my workforce in my country AI literate? And I always say you have to take it one step further. How are you going to make sure that your workforce that is now AI literate is staying in your country? Because otherwise they're going to take off to, let's say, China or Silicon Valley, and you lose them within their country. So it's very important to have a sandbox, to have a startup ecosystem within your country. But yes, for us, absolutely, AI talent is crucial. We did a large acquisition last year, August. We bought the biggest private lab, AI lab in Europe, Silo AI, and that one of the reasons was AI talent.
Right, I see, yeah. But Rocky, you must have recruiters trying to break into your events at AGI House, don't they? You know, is the temptation for a young entrepreneur or a young engineer to just go, you know, who cares about hacking at a house? I might as well go and get a big job, you know, for $1 billion at Meta or OpenAI or something.
Actually, that's one part of our business model. People sponsor our events. Actually, they're trying to do recruiting, approaching the talent. We've become the distribution layer for the AI talent right now.
Right.
So we'll see people from all over the place come over, be our events, and being approached by the people you mentioned. But for our goals, we actually want to create an environment for them to building companies, entrepreneurship. So a lot of so that's another different type of talent also. It's unapproachable, probably. Their whole mission is building the next generation of AMD or OpenAI kind of companies. So,
there's a debate going on right now about whether or not we're in a bubble or a boom. Do you think we're in a bubble or a boom?
Well, I would definitely like to use the later word, the boom, but of course, on the market, from an investor perspective, there's some frostiness in there, in terms of, we're talking about valuation. But if you look at all the adoption, the whole, how the rest of the world is using AI, we're barely getting started. Imagine that, how much potential. I think I read a report, I think the enterprise adoption is like 5% or something. So imagine that every 5% adoption, how much the world will change, the economic value will generate from this AI productivity.
Hanneke, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Rocky. The market is only growing. And even on the investments, we did 15 of them last year, and we're now on track to do more than 20, and that will continue. So no, I think, but it will be a roller coaster. There will be where it's a little bit of a pause or plateau, and then it won't be a straight line, and we all know that we're in a high tech.
Well, I think we're definitely in a boom, but the question is when does it end? Which is when it ends. That's when you go. It was a bubble, isn't it? But I mean, there's the overall strategy right now. When you speak to the clients and the customers of AMD, there was recent reports. I think it was MIT that came out and said that something like 90% of corporates are failing to introduce AI applications into their corporate structures, into their processes and their workflows. And companies like OpenAI are going, oh my goodness, we're going to actually have to go into these companies and explain to them how to use it, how it might change their workflows and things like that. Are you having those same kinds of conversations that corporates and clients and customers are going, you know, it's great, but we're not sure how to do it, how to implement it? And that's surely having an effect on confidence, though, isn't it?
Yeah, so even though we do the AI infrastructure, not as much the application layer, you definitely see that, and we see that in the company ourselves as well. We're implementing a lot of AI ourselves, of course. But what you see is that people are making the investments in companies, and that they are putting the infrastructure in place, but they're not making overall org changes yet. Like, for instance, you can start a lot of AI agents, but they cost money. You have to make some changes overall. You can't just add AI and think that your ROI is all going to be good. You have to look at it from an overall perspective.
From a strategic perspective.
Absolutely.
And Rocky, although the level you're playing at with some of the startups you work with is very early, the same MIT study said that the people who were using AI most were other AI startups, in fact. So, you know, there is a disconnect here, isn't there, between, you know, the traditional world of work and the very fast-paced world of technology startups.
Yeah, actually we have a term for that. It's called AI native startups, AI native. So at AGI House, we have this word. Every day, use as much AI as possible to run your life. That's like we measure your how AI you are based on how many AI tools you use every day on a daily basis. So actually, a part of the AGI House Ventures fund, the early stage venture fund, we have another business, a company. Actually, the mission is helping the corporates, the enterprise, adopting AI technology. So we work with a lot of big, giant Fortune 500, 2000s, with them, come to AGI House, building solutions, POC them, educate them, show this is what we can do. And we help them accelerate the adoption of the technology. That's the whole AGI House mission. Our mission is accelerate humanity transition to AGI. That's the whole purpose, how we do it.
Right. Do you find that in your work with global AI markets at AMD, do you find that there was a traditional way of dealing with data centers and compute in the previous to generative AI? Do you find that this era is completely different or very similar to the previous era?
Not completely different, but definitely different. The amount of money is different, the scale, the speed. So, but then other things become important, like energy and land.
Yeah.
So when we talk to customers, one of the first questions is, do you have the energy?
Right.
And if they haven't even thought about that, we know that it's going to take a while before they're going to break ground. So, you know, there is definitely the scale is different now.
Does that mean that you are also strategically looking at energy investments as well?
Yes.
So what kind of, give us an example.
So for us as a number 2 player in the market right now, we have to be creative on how to get in with customers. So it's sometimes through education and also through energy. Right. Where you work. The AI is an ecosystem. Nobody's doing it alone anymore. So it's not us with a customer. It's a lot of groups involved.
Everybody's involved.
Which is wonderful. It's wonderful.
But Rocky, do any of the companies, startups you look at energy? Because I think energy is really such a big part of this now because of the amount of energy it takes to power these LLMs at the moment.
Yeah, I just learned it from her. At AGI House, we don't, because we are more solely laser focused on the whole technology, foundation model, infrastructure, like the frameworks, and then the vertical application, the agents. That's what we see the playing field that we are focusing on. But we do know right now the compute supply and demand imbalance is because of data center. So one part of the bigger the constraints, the power. Yeah, that's good. I guess in Silicon Valley, a lot of other big players, if you look at OpenAI, like Sam, he keep mentioning that they invest in like the fusion technology or the other power generation technologies is very critical to this whole equation. Yeah.
And finally, we've seen also that that the stock market it goes ups and downs and waves. You know, a lot of the share price of AMD just fell sharply on Friday after the U.S. Senate advanced a bill that could restrict exports of AI chips to China. And the problem is that the legislation could curb how many advanced AI processors American companies can ship overseas. Do you think Trump's trade war with China is going to affect your business strategically over the next few months?
Well, it is already over the last, let's say, year. It has already been a roller coaster. But you know, we're an American company and abide by American law. So that is, but China is a growth market, and you know, we have to look at how we can play this, and you know, we'll have to deal with it how it comes.
Right. There's a lot of reports about how China really has just flipped a switch and just overtaken the West now. Rocky, do you think that's the case? Then do you think the West will ever be able to catch up, or is it all over for us?
Well, that's a little overblown because I grew up in this part of both sides of the world. I live in both sides of the world, and I do see in terms of technology there's still a gap, but China is definitely catching up rapidly. That's from my perspective, yeah, for sure.
Well, I won't subject you to more terrible questioning. I'm sure you've got better things to do. But, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Rocky Yu from AGI House and Hanneke Krekels from AMD, and from me, Mike Butcher from pathfounders.com. Check it out soon. See you later.